I teach literature through making, marketing, and movement. And today I'm going to focus on the making aspect of this. What I have in front of me is a page from a Zentangle page or an art journal page that I got inspired by the Scarlet Letter. I teach literature currently at a charter school in upstate South Carolina, and one of the wonderful things about this is that I have the freedom to explore how I'm going to teach, and I have the freedom to give students a long-term project or project-based learning. And I also do a lot of arts integration. So what we're working on is art journaling through the Scarlet Letter. And this is from chapter 1 of the Scarlet Letter. And I'm going to go through and first point out, some of my artistic choices, and then I'm going to start on a tutorial to show you how I did this. First, this is a Zentangle piece. Now, I'm not a certified Zentangle artist, so if you want to call it doodles, this is a doodle piece. And I decided to make the central image of this chapter 1 be the rose, instead of this. The potentially central image is the prison door, but I've done that before, and this time I wanted the rose to be the main image. And of course, you'll see this right here. And then I wanted to also put an emphasis on line, because this is Zentangle. But I really wanted to emphasize curve, because that's my favorite. And I wanted to take the idea of the wildness that is in, like, the part where he talks about, or Hawthorne talks about there being all this unsightly vegetation. I wanted to take that and then put it in here, and then have the very organized rosebud here, and everything else leads kind of to it, but it's also more chaotic and disorganized. And the other thing that I wanted to do, and I'm going to put this in the presentation along with this, is I found some art journal things that I really liked, where they took the words and they did this very simple font to it, because lettering is not really my strong point. And I wanted to incorporate as much as possible the words from that chapter and the ones that I found important. And then the other thing that I wanted to do with this was capture, again, the students, they haven't read it, don't know it, but there's this Scarlet Letter. So I wanted to, in the tangled part, capture the A's in the various places, and then have that incorporated in, and tried not to be as too obvious, but I still wanted it to be there. So that's the thought process behind it. Within the tangles, I mostly just did tangles I liked. So if you want to go deeper, or have your students go deeper and look for tangles or doodles, or come up with their own that they think would represent, the Black Flower of Civilized Society, or each of these, that's definitely available. It's just not a thing that I did in this one. Now, to create this, I had, of course, my drawing pencils. And I, first of all, for the main parts, I outlined it first in the pencil. And then as I went along, I didn't do the tangles in pencil. That would have taken too long. And I wanted to make sure that I even had the rose done. I'm using gel pens, and I have a new pack, so I'm not sure that it's going to turn out the same color. I'm not sure which color that is. For this, I'm also using Prismacolor pencils, which aren't necessary. You can use any color pencils. And for the outline, I'm using my favorite, which is a Micron. This is an 03. I may have used an 05 for this, but you'll be fine whatever you use. And students usually have a Sharpie on hand, or a thinner Sharpie, and that works just as well. So what I'm going to do with this tutorial is, first I'm going to show you the rose, and then I'll splice together the rest of this so that you can take a break. The one thing I do want to point out is I chose the bud because I like when I can do it. And two, I wanted to capture a color. I chose the pink because I looked up several um, instances of wild roses from Boston, from that area, and a lot of them had this yellow part fading up into the darker pinks. So I did that, and then I actually lightly did a silver colored pencil in the background so that this wasn't such a contrast between white and the pink, that there was that gray, and just kind of smooth it out. All right, so let's get started. Now, the way that I have done this, I've actually, what I used originally for paper was a mixed media book, and you can do whatever you want. Sorry about that. A mixed media book that I just got. But here, I'm actually using some white drawing paper because I hope this isn't cheating, but I went ahead and traced over what I've done because I'm not used to trying to do the same thing twice, and it won't look the same. And I'm probably not going to do the entirety of it because I really want to make sure that you are doing your own style. But I wanted to capture some of the first, some of the major parts of it, and then say, of course, go crazy with your own stuff. Now, I'm sitting down. That's what that is about. All right. So what we have, and I had, again, my central image is this rose. So I used a rose, or looked at the rose, from a book called 20 Ways to Draw a Tulip. And in it, they have a bunch of different flowers, and they just have sketch drawings and 20 different ways to do it. And one of them was a rose, so I chose this bud. So we'll start off with this upper circle. And again, I'm not going to trace directly over my lines. I'm going to draw it down. And if you are an expert at roses, then feel free to create your own always. And then we're going to draw these lines out here to create this lip. And then come here and create the curve. Then we're going to come up here, bring this around to here, and then once again, this lip. We do have dogs here, so you're going to hear them come in and out, and we also have children, both of which are delightful. And then this up here. Now down here, we're going to go into the realm of the actual greenery. And in it, I did not, if you look at mine, I decided to not use greenery because I wanted the only color to be that rose. Because again, there's the unsightly vegetation, and it would have been green, but I really wanted the rose to be the only thing, which again, makes, alleviates and relieves from the darkening tale of human frailty and sorrow. All right. Now, in some of this, you'll see that there's some line drawings here. And this looks completely different from my other one, but that's okay. Where you bring this across. The other one had a little more curve to it. And what we'll do is we'll eventually go back over this with the colors. So if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But I went ahead and did it anyway when I created mine. So just to give this some interest. And again, you could totally, if you wanted to, Zentangle this whole rose. But I wanted it, again, to be the more organized portion of this. And the thing that stood out because it was simple and not because it was chaotic. And everything else is chaotic. So, because crime is chaotic and drama is chaotic. All right, so right here you have a rose. And definitely, it's not perfect. And I would definitely add a little bit more of a curve in here. And now I'm going to take some pink, and I'm going to go with this shade of pink right here from my Micron. not my micron, my gel pens. And take out the plastic. Oh my gosh, don't forget the plastic. And outline that. Now, this is actually a lot brighter than the other one, which is fine. I'm just going to get something deeper. And I'm going to go over my black lines. Now, that's, again, as I said, you didn't have to put the black lines in, but I liked having like just a little bit of the dark in there. And give your black lines a little bit more time to dry when you're doing this. And put in some of that curve. And you can emphasize the curve here if you'd like. And we're going to go back in with this, and we're going to make sure that we, again, cover the lines, but we're going to do some colored pencil in a second. So we're going to put this here and make sure that it's dry before we do the colored pencil, because this is the gel. And I haven't used this brand before, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. And if you want down here, you can decide if you want to, I followed it down for this one, but the other ones I left dark. You can decide if you want to do that, of course, or if you'd rather not. See if I smeared it. I did. So we're going to keep this going. Right there. And of course, smearing happens. So you just have to remind yourself when you're doing it not to. You can go back over it. And that's not really going to matter because there's going to be colored pencil and just look as if you meant to do that, right? All right. So already, just because of the differences in color, it looks very, very, very different from the original, which again is fine. All right, so now you're going to take a yellow and a yellow colored pencil. And we're going to do some of the shading. And these are Prisma, so they actually have a pretty intense pigmentation. So again, it's going to look different just because these are better pencils. So I'm going to start here at the bottom, and in this kind of circular motion, I'm going to go in here. And if you look up again the pictures of the various roses with this, you'll see that here at the bottom it captures the yellow and then it moves up pale and then into darker peaks. And I'm not doing a lot of professional shading, partly because it's not the point. And if you want to do it, like if roses are your thing and having the shading, and you're gonna have students who are gonna love it and they're gonna really get into it, the shading portions. So I pulled this in, and again, it's not completely dry, so I'm going to try not to go color into those yet. And then once that's done, once that's done, we're going to go ahead and grab another pink. And I have a very pale pink and then more of a redder pink. Let's see how this works. I've not used this color, so let's see what happens. So we're going to start in here. Ooh, I like that. We're going to start in the yellow and lightly, lightly, lightly pull it in. See how that blends? And we're going to pull this in. And you have a really, really, really light brush stroke at first. And as you want to get darker, you're going to increase your brush, the pressure. So this is more of a red. It also has the pink, so cool. It's going to stand out more. So as you get up here, this is where you can really start to press down and make it darker, and then you can have it lighter. And you can go in if you'd like and get, I don't have them with me, but you can get your little stalks of paper, and you can blend that in a little better. You can use your finger. All right, so then we're just going to pull that into each of these. So lightly, lightly, lightly. And I am going to eventually color over this part, but not now because again, and you can come down into this, like really down into it and get that orange so that you can fade from the yellow. Because if you look again, if you look at the roses, the wild roses, that's usually what you're going to get. You're just going to color this up until you're finished with it. And what I did when I did mine is I actually saved this for last. And it partly because it scared me and partly because I wanted to have all of the dark and then I wanted to add my pop of color and see that happen. But because we're just starting with this rose as the central image, and I have to be careful on my grip not to get too tight and to, oh, there they are. So get up here and then start to put that pressure on it right here and work on blending that in. Darker. And you can do it all the way along the edge or just partially down and then just keep it light. And if you, again, if you're a professional at the colored pencils and getting that in, and go for more shading. I'm doing more to make sure I have the color happening. And then get this lightly in there. So that's how we're going to be finishing this off. And that's pretty much it for this. I did go back through, and one of the things that I did in the other one was make the, when I was finished, make my gel pen area thicker. And I did this with all of it because I liked, purely because I liked the look. I made everything, the black lines, everything just slightly thicker and gave it a little more dimension. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just that that's how I liked the look. Let's see if this is dry and see if we can color into that, into here. Is it? Yay! So we can slightly color onto this. And again, I didn't bring my blender, but if you had your blending sticks, you could start to get into it with some blending so that you could add a little bit. It would just blend better. I left those in the other room. So we're gonna slightly do that. We want. Now, I think that I prefer the other color better, but this was an experiment. And I will go back and find the one that I did and look at the colors for that and then leave those in. Again, you might decide you want to go red because that is really going to stand out if you do a red. And I'm going to just thicken these lines up a little bit, again, just because I want to, not because there's any kind of artistic necessity behind it. And then for the most part, we're done. Now, again, like I said, if you want to go in and color the leaves and add some with that, go for it.